recognize myself for an opening statement. The severity of the threats we face in cyberspace can't be overstated. Seemingly every week there's a new headline about a new breach, a new hack, or a new trove of sensitive information that's been compromised. Or there's a new report highlighting the vulnerabilities of our government, the private sector, and the American people facing from malicious actors. Those on the operational front of cybersecurity know the threat landscape is evolving at every second. In cyberspace, it's nearly impossible to concisely declare who the threat actor is, what they're going to do next, and what the cascading effects may be. The industry method is to prioritize, assess the risks that networks face, and prioritize actions to address those risks, and then keep moving down the list. We in the government must learn from the private sector, assess risks, prioritize mitigation, and keep moving. As I've said before, whether we rise up to the challenges in cyberspace will play a large part in determining whether America remains the world's superpower. To effectively address these threats, I couldn't agree more with the consensus opinion that the private sector and the government need to collaborate. I see a big part of our collective responsibility being to ensure that this collaboration results in not just rhetoric, but in a tangible improvement in our country's cybersecurity posture. What we're here today to examine is perhaps one of the most readily visible and promising forms of this collaboration, the sharing of cyber threat indicators between the private sector and the federal government. In an ecosystem where there is no silver bullet, it's incumbent upon us to conduct rigorous oversight of our information sharing programs to help increase the participation in and volume of cyber threat information shared with the private sector. The private sector is the front line for action in cyberspace. In supplying the private sector with an increasing amount of actionable information, we enable our partners to tilt the scales away from our cyber adversaries. As a committee, we are continually seeking to learn about possible ways that the Department can help to increase the resilience of private sector networks and fine-tune their own efforts for the response, analysis, mitigation of cyber threats. According to DHS, the Automated Indicator Sharing Program has shared over 1.3 million unique indicators, more than 264,000 shared in September alone, and there are currently 135 non-federal entities participating in AIS, 22 of which are sector-specific organizations comprised of groups of companies. DHS estimates the actual reach of AIS indicators to be greater than 10,000 organizations. As encouraging as it is to see these programs take shape and fill the very important role of convening partners and bridging information sharing from the government to the private sector, we can do better. A recent report from the DHS Office of Inspector General reinforces this notion that there's more work to be done. Today, I look forward to hearing insights and recommendations from our witnesses that we can take back to DHS to continue to strengthen its work sharing cyber threat information. We are tasked with overseeing the crucial DHS programs, knowing that improvements are always possible. Each of you has unique perspective that will provide invaluable knowledge that we can build on as DHS continues to refine its programs. We will need creative and possibly significant changes to the way that we do things if we expect to gain ground in this fight. In a space this transformative and this disruptive, the best option is continued partnership. As disparate as the opinion of the private sector and the government can be on many issues, when it comes to security, we are all looking for able, willing, and effective partners. The information technology landscape is central to every sector of the economy and every consumer and individual who depend on these systems. The automation of cyber threat information and the incorporation of classified and unclassified information are areas the government can work on in order to increase the effectiveness of the information being provided to the private sector. It is for this reason that we have gathered in this panel of experts to talk about or talk to the efficacy of cyber threat information sharing and improvements that can be made with it. We look forward to hearing from the witnesses, their perspectives and understanding of the current state of cyber threat information sharing and their vision and their recommendations for a safer future. Again, thanks to our witnesses for your willingness to share your expertise with us today. I now recognize the ranking member for any, my colleague and friend from Rhode Island, Mr. Langevin, for any opening statement that he may have.